So let's talk about these. You can find them at the very bottom, these links, but you can also find them here at the top. In fact, are actually part of this course room introduction folder. Just so you can see, course instant details. You can see them right in here. It's the same text, same links. Now, I'm going to go to the very bottom again to read them. I put them in both places to make sure that you know there is additional information. There are links to it, and you can encounter them before you read. You can encounter it at the very end when you're done. So you should not miss them. So all that is essential to the course is not presented on this page. Please read and to better understand, I see this is an extra word here, to better understand more of what is expected of you, how submissions are handled, and additional information central to the course. Now, let's go ahead and do that so we can see what is the activities, what is it all about. Actually, it's going to tell me more about what I can expect for them. So, for example, lecture, it means föreläsning, lesson, lektion, exercise, övning, Q&A, frågestund. And if I look at it, this activity is probably the one all of you are most familiar with. The teacher speaks and the student takes notes. Student may also follow along by doing the same as the teacher, but it is not required. Lectures may end with a suggestion from the teacher that students should start practicing what they've learned using the examples provided. So this is what you can expect from a lecture. A lesson, though, this is similar to lecture in that the teacher speaks, but the focus is more on the teacher showing and the students following along by doing the same as the teachers. In this activity, the teacher may initially introduce an exercise for about 50 minutes. You see, you can read this by yourself, but you can see that these are going to explain the activities inside the course. So you can understand what to expect from it. Is that important? Yeah, it is important because it also is not only what you can expect, it's what I can expect from you, because you should know this by having read this. So I expect you to not be surprised if I ask of you to do something depending on you being part of a lesson, exercise, lecture, or a Q&A, for example. So let's go back to the other ones, and let's take this route. This one right now, and go to this one, examination grading and feedback. It's actually one link. If I click on this one, it takes me to this. It's quite bulky amount of text here, but I'll take these top ones, and you can understand that there is going to be, more text on there, but it's actually, I read this, and you can read this on your own later on. Examination tasks must be 100% adhered to in order to receive approval unless otherwise stated. So 100%. So if I don't state anything different, 100% means that you really have to do everything. It doesn't mean you have to do like 60% of the instructions or something like that. Now everything. If failing on one, you could fail on the whole. Even though there were like 100 instructions you're supposed to follow, and you skip on one, that means a fail. So please take that into consideration. Receiving a grade may take up to 15 work days from the submission deadline. So if you submitted something, it takes 15 work days, but not from the day you submitted. It is based on the submission deadline. So what is the submission deadline? Let us go back and just ensure that you know. If you go back here to the course room, if I open this examination tasks, you can see there's an open and there's a close. This one is the deadline. So if you submitted for attempt 1, let's say you submitted on the very first day, you were very quick, you just fixed this. You still have to wait until the submission deadline and an additional 15 days before you can complain, because I have, from the deadline, 15 working days, no, not holidays or something like that, or red days, you could say in Swedish. All of these are going to be 15 work days before I must or should have returned your grade and given you a grade on it. Now, I don't want to do that. Of course, I want to get these things out of the way as quickly as possible, but that is the amount of room that I have available to me. How much time I might, spend. So let's go back here to this one. And you see, I opened it in a new folder up here, so I didn't have to go back earlier on, but okay. You see, if Canvas notifies the student that their submission has received comments, you may actually get this. You get this, go into Canvas, or you go into your Outlook, and you get some kind of a notification saying, oh, you just got a comment on your assignment called HTML and semantics. And you're just like, oh yeah, God, I can go out there and look at this grade. But then you find that you're not yet able to see those comments. You cannot even see the grade. That is perfectly natural, because when I comment something to a student, I usually tell the Canvas knows I've commented and you will get this notification, but I haven't yet published the result. It is because the teacher wants to post the grades once grading for all students is complete. The student may not see the grade in Canvas earlier than others. So I try to, as much as possible, follow that by not giving away grades earlier than I need to. So I wait until I've actually graded all of the ones that submitted to that attempt. And when I've done that, I publish it for all of them at the same time. Which means while I'll comment all the students will note that they get comments, but they're still not able to see it because I haven't graded or commented all students yet. But when I've done that, all the submitting students, I publish it for everyone. If a student, group, or pair is late by 1 second or more and is unable to submit the work for the intended attempt, this is what we talked about earlier, they may wonder whether 1 second matters. It does. Actually, it is the same as being a week late for me. If the students intend to submit their work for the next available attempt, the following rules apply. A missed or late attempt is regarded as a used attempt and will not be graded or considered even if it is late by as little as 1 second. The submission is regarded as an attempt for the folder it is submitted to. So if you, for example, intended to submit for attempt 1, but it was closed due to you being late, and you submit an attempt 2, now it's not going to be considered as an attempt 1. And I explain it here. For example, if students enter Canvas to submit, notice they are late and the submission folder for attempt 1 is no longer available, they may submit the work to attempt 2 folder. If they do so, and then email the teacher to notify them or me, the teacher will refer to this text. The submission can no longer be counted as attempt 1, even though it's just a little late. So I'm going to just tell you this. So please do not ask for it. It's not going to be, I will not listen to it for any reason. So the student may then go ahead and submit an attempt to attempt 2 anyway, which would be well before the deadline for attempt 2, which is also something to really consider. Maybe say if you're like you are 10 seconds late on attempt 1, so you have to submit to attempt 2, and then you decide to do so. Well, that could also have, the first drawback is that you have less time now. You could have actually worked on it a bit more before the deadline for attempt 2. So you can, instead of just putting it there and waiting for me to grade it and all of that, please use that extra additional time to actually fix it. and be very sure it's correct because you've just lost an attempt. So if a student submits, for example, let's say you do it anyway. If a student submits an attempt well before its deadline, the teacher may grade it earlier. You may find that is a good thing. But once graded, that attempt will be counted as an attempt. So now you've suddenly, even though you're intended to attempt to apply to attempt 1, you were late, you put it in attempt 2, and you're actually now I grade attempt 2, and you may get a fail. Suddenly you have just one attempt left, even though you spent almost just a second or a couple of seconds more on attempt 1 than anyone else. You've suddenly lost 2 attempts. Please keep this in mind and be, strategic about how you go about this. Meaning that additional submission to the attempt folder will not be graded. The student then loses potential time they could have used to improve their chances of getting the sought after grade. Students will know if their submission has been graded, as they will either receive a grade or be notified. So for example, let's say you submit something too early, and I go in as a teacher and I grade it. And when it's graded, you don't get to submit on that attempt again. You have to wait for the next attempt. If you're in attempt 2, for example, you have to wait on attempt 3. But how do you know that it's been graded? Well, first off, you get this comment that you have been graded and you have comments, even though you cannot see them. And if you get that, you cannot submit again on that attempt. It has already been graded. So that is really, really important that you adhere to this, because it's going to affect you, as you may understand. Let's talk about the other one then. I think since I learned that I was so smart, so I could actually just close this one. I can go to policy instead. This is also important. We have something called conflicting information policy. And when we're using tools to visualize, for example, when something is going to happen, like TimeEdit, we use it, and we have the course handbook, so that I said in which order something is supposed to happen and what's supposed to happen, and we have the course room announcements that could say some things like, I could say a lot of things. For example, some scheduled events. Now, which one should you follow? Now, there is a priority order that you should follow for most courses, and I believe all of them, because there is a logic to it. First off, the course room announcements is where if I were sick, if I couldn't attend one day, then I would put it in the course room announcement, because that's something that I can do immediately and get it out immediately. There's like no latency in it. When I type it and I press send, everyone sees in the course. Now, TimeEdit is different. It's not even managed by me as a teacher. I have to actually talk to someone who sits with TimeEdit, and they have to make these changes. So it's not immediate, not in any shape or form. So if you talk about priorities, and I say one thing in the course room announcement, like saying, there's not going to be a lecture today or a scheduled lecture today because I am sick. But in TimeEdit, there is still a lecture there. Then you know that you should look at the course room announcement and follow that one, because the course room announcement is written by me, but I haven't had the time to change anything in TimeEdit yet. So the priority should be on following the course room announcement, and then you don't have to take the journey to school and so forth. Now maybe it's a distant study, but anyway, then you shouldn't go to Zoom and expect me to be there because I'm sick. Now let's go to, for example, the TimeEdit. Let's say we have a scheduled event in TimeEdit, but the course handbook shows something different. Now, this could be due to other things. For example, let's say I got a mail from the person working at Time that says I have to change something. I have to really change the schedule because there's been some kind of incident in this part of the school. So we have to put you in another part of the school. Okay, that means we don't have the same time. So maybe it gets pushed to the next week. Now, time edit then is a higher priority than the course handbook because I have not maybe had the possibility of updating the course room yet. So therefore, the priority lies there on time edit above course handbook in the course room. So now, and what is the course handbook? Of course, you already know this. This is exactly where we've been all the time. It's all of this. All of this is the course handbook. It actually says it at the very top. It says the course handbook for web design, for example, in this course now. So now you know the conflicting information policy. Of course, we don't want this to happen, but if it happens, now you know the priority order to follow. Course material policy. So it somehow happens that students are making the deduce that they're going to be different values depending on what kind of course materials I share with you. But the students should not make any such deductions in this case. So some students make these incorrect assumptions regarding the course material. Therefore, the text below is here to clarify for you. Regardless of whether the course materials literature are hosted within Canvas or linked from an external site outside of Canvas, both sources should be considered equally essential for the successful completion of the course. So, as you see, it's a link outside or material inside or a book or whatever it is, whatever I link to, external or internal to Canvas or to the course literature, all of that, you cannot say that one is more important than another. All of them are important for the successful completion of the course. Groups and pairs policies. I think this is very close to my heart, and you will notice that in my courses. Collaboration is a key component of this course and of many courses. You will participate in a group and pair work to foster teamwork and collective problem-solving skills. Sometimes it's just one of them. Detailed rules on how to collaborate with your peers are provided below. This should not ever be needed to say, but I say it because if I ever get the questions you needed for students, oh, well, we didn't know that. Now I have already written it down. So that's why I expect you to read this. So I can say that, well, it was there all along. So work distributions among students in a group must be equitable. Of course, that also goes for pairs, groups and pairs. So and I think that is self-evident, but many times I see that is not the case. And when that happens, I have to sometimes separate groups, sometimes make additional things that some group members need to do inside a group, and to just make sure that they know what they're supposed to know. If any member feels that they are falling behind despite active participation, not that they are falling behind because they didn't attend or were just sitting there passively and never saying anything, well, the group must pause and ensure that this individual attains the same level of understanding as the rest. So that means if you have a difficulty understanding this, even though you're actually attending actively all the time, not all the time, but like 90% of the time, the group must pause and ensure that this. So there's like, just because you have a much easier time learning, you're a group, you do this together, then you have to pause and understand how to teach this. And actually teaching something makes you learn it better. So it's also good practice for all of those of you that believe that you already know. Maybe you don't. And you will understand that when you try to teach something. You understand that you're lacking explanations for why you do what you do. No single individual should dominate or carry out the majority of the work alone. That goes without saying. It actually should be included in the 2 points above. No one should rely on others to do their share of the work. Of course, that goes in the reverse also. Significant portions of this course demand that students take personal responsibility of their learning. In this case, in this course, for example, I have a project which is going to be require the students to really get into all of the things, all of those deeper parts of component-driven design and all of that they may not have yet learned enough of to understand the project. So they have to actually learn by investigating on themselves, to try to see patterns, to deduce patterns, and so on. So you cannot only say that the active learning, it comes from what you read. It also comes from you looking up. You're looking up and trying to find explanations for what you do. So you're not limited to the course material inside here. You can also look at things up. Students are often expected to have completed readings before scheduled instructional sessions. Readings, that is a broad term in this sense. Maybe also could say that you're supposed to complete maybe exercises sometimes. You completed lessons and follow along with lessons. And these things are also important. For example, if I go back here, you see that I have activities and resources. And I'm going to this exercise basic HTML and CSS. Well, when you appear here, I expect that you've done this because this is a number 5 on the list. This has already been done when you come here. Like, for example, in this case as well. So you're backed with this knowledge. And even though it may be confusing to you, you may not know it perfectly, you've done it. And then when you come here, we'll have that, you have that behind you, so we can talk about it and use that. And I can say, like you did in this lesson, you can think about it the same way when you do this. It's going to make things much easier for you when we're following along the exercise. This is just an example. In other courses, there may be other reasons for you to do things before you turn up. So please, and that is how you should interpret that final bullet point here. In the next video, I think we'll wrap up